The following podcast has been rated R. You've been warned. Hello, and welcome to our humble little podcast. We like to call this little shindig Snippets, right here on Atlantis After Dark. Take it away, Retmus.
Hello, and welcome to our humble little companion show, Atlantis After Dark Snippets. I'm Retmus, the Sorcerer Supreme of cyberspace, and with me is my co-host, Sekju, the Lost Prince of Cannabis. How's it hanging, man?
Oh, I got to tell you, with how hot it's been around my area recently, it's not hanging so much as it's stuck to the inside of my leg, but pretty good. I'd say pretty good. Got some DC announcements last week, and yeah, I can't complain. I don't think. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I'm glad you're here to join me. I'm glad we're moving forward in this format. Today we're going to try a little bit new format. What we're going to do here is the show is going to be hosted by myself and Sekju, and we're going to cover news, rumors inside the DC universe as a whole, covering DC movies, TV shows, animation, toys, and as well as little snippets of the DCL game as well. So, Sekju, what's happening in the greater DC universe, buddy?
Well, there's several pieces of news out there, but I think some of the biggest news is probably the cancellation of several CW Arrowverse series that have happened recently. For example, Legends of Tomorrow and the newer show that just came out, excuse me, this season, Naomi. So that has some people asking questions about the Warner Discovery merger. But are either of those shows near and dear to you, Retmus?
Not anymore. I mean, if it would have been earlier, I'd been like, oh man, these are being canceled. I'd be disappointed. But like Legends of Tomorrow, I mean, that has longevity to it. If you think about it, that could be like a show like how Doctor Who is. It just goes on forever because he regenerates and becomes a new character. And it's kind of like the same thing for Legends of Tomorrow. Each season could have been their way to do like Justice League Unlimited animated did, bring in all new characters. They could have done this every episode, kept it fresh, and I bet you the ratings would be super high. But it kind of got stale. Some of the main actors that were in it kind of dropped off. They did their own thing. They died, left the show, were written out, things like that. And they brought in Matt Ryan as Constantine, which I absolutely love. Matt Ryan. He is an unbelievable Constantine. And that's what made me start watching the show again. And I was just like, yes, we get to finish out the story of Constantine, the short-lived series.
Yeah.
and it was so great because they went back and they finished up that story for us, and I was like, I was so thankful that they did that. And it felt like it eventually just became a Constantine show with the legends in the background. It seemed what it kind of like went to.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a problem with that because I love the character Constantine, but you just can't rely on that one, person to carry the whole show. And that's where I thought it started kind of like fading. I was like, oh yeah, we have Constantine and these other guys over here whenever they're relevant. And it's a Legends of Tomorrow. I wanted it to be, that superhero team up, the legends, and not just a one-man show. So it kind of started fading on me for that reason. Not that Matt Ryan did bad, because he's fantastic. But what are your thoughts on Legends?
I kind of feel similarly about what you proposed, that they could have been like the Justice League Unlimited, and it kind of started that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it was neat how when you lost certain characters after the first season, like the Hawks or Captain Cold, that they brought in some replacements and it rejuvenated the roster, so to speak, and it brought in some new people. And I really feel like they did that again at the end of season 2, when they introduced some recurring characters that returned. I believe, Vixen basically was the character that became recurring until they had to restore her back to her proper place in the timeline and everything. And I feel like that's kind of where the show lost its footing a bit. One of the things I used to love about Legends of Tomorrow was that it embraced the campiness, but at a certain point, it embraced the campiness too far, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like they started treating all their adventures screwing up the timeline like, oh, here's just another Legends hoedown going to run the ramble, through the timeline and destroy everything, and we'll fix it by the end of the season. But here's a bunch of slapsticky humor along the way. And that's I guess in any TV show you can have those episodes here and there, but it felt like entire seasons of the show felt that way. And some of the campier stuff was funny. Like whenever they defeat the evil giant demon dude with the stuffed animal thing, I can't remember its name anymore, but even though it's all over the place in that show, but that was funny. It was hilarious because it was like a Captain Planet thing. It was kind of like mocking Marvel at the time with the quest for the Infinity Stones, and they were collecting all their same MacGuffin toys and had the Captain Planet, a giant stuffed animal out of nowhere to kill a demon. So that was funny, and that was to me the appropriate use of camp. But some of the stuff in the more recent seasons where they're like, at like what was the one episode that comes to mind where they're like producing bombers during World War II?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just too far on the campiness when you're in like a moment in time that has a lot of serious content around it. And I think some of that ties into, like you said, the Constantine angle is they wrapped up Constantine's story and what happened to Astra. But then at the end of that, they're like, well, what the hell do we do with Astra? And now they had to add Astra to the show. And I mean, she's a pretty actress. She might be a good actress. I don't think I saw that on the show. I don't think she was bad per se, but
Gotcha.
But she didn't add anything to me. She was just like, it was like adding an angsty teenager to a show full of adults that already had a bunch of campy little funny things going on. And her little drama with, I see it's the problem is I can't even remember these characters' names because I watched less and less as the show progressed.
Right.
It's just like, she didn't fit, and the team started to fall apart. They lost Adam when Brandon Routh and his wife left the show. Like it was like, that's like somebody that I appreciated for that lighthearted humor between him and Nate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of disappointing when they left, but at the same time, I don't feel like the people they replaced them with brought much more to the show that you wanted to see it going.
Right.
And like the whole Gary shtick thing was funny when he was like a little side character, but once they made him like a main piece of the show and he was an alien and all this other weird stuff going on, it was just like, all right, I guess I'm going to watch this, but I wasn't ever really excited. I think season 5 was the last time I was really excited to watch anything on Legends. And then it just kind of followed along until the bitter end, like I'm doing with the Flash at the moment. So
I gotcha. It was Bebo.
Bebo, that's it.
Bebo.
But Legends, but the thing is, Ratmus, and maybe you'll agree with this, Legends had some great moments in it too.
Oh, it did.
Like in the early seasons when they inspire Star Wars essentially. Like that to me was fantastic when they like dropped into important moments in history and like, oh man, that we have this because the Legends did it. That to me, they needed more of that throughout the whole series, and it kind of lost itself along the way a little bit.
Right. Oh, I definitely agree with you. I mean, one of the things about the show, like when it first came out, and I thought they were trying to be very comic book accurate because they were using Rip Hunter. And if you go back, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong or any of our viewers can, but I thought the whole entire Legends of Tomorrow story arc was supposed to be about Rip Hunter being the time traveler and fixing things, not let's get rid of Rip Hunter and all these other characters are Legends. I thought the story was created for the character Rip Hunter, which was played by, Arthur Darvill, I think his name is. And he played the Rory Williams on Doctor Who. And when I heard he was coming over, after he was done with Doctor Who, I was just like, wow, he's going to make a great Rip Hunter. He kind of like looks that kind of part. He'll be great. And then he was written off the show. And I was just like, I was kind of disappointed in that in the beginning. I mean, of course, it got really good when they started just grabbing in like, all the different characters, that they were using. And I really couldn't complain because I enjoyed it, but I kind of missed the Rip Hunter aspect of the story because it was supposed to be about him. It was like, let's make a show about Superman, and Superman's only in it for the first season, and it's not about him anymore, but it was a show made for him.
It's like the executive decision of TV shows. Like everybody wanted to see Steven Seagal, and he dies in the first 5 minutes. Sorry about that spoiler. You haven't seen that one from the 90s.
Yes.
That was great though. I love that. That was like a first movie for like Kurt Russell where they focused on him too, wasn't it? It's like, oh, Steven Seagal's dead. Now starring Kurt Russell and Halle Berry.
But I mean, with anything that we love and enjoy, we never want it to truly end. Because we always crave more. And the sad thing is that just decisions, whether it's the commercial aspect of it or the actual human aspect of it, because, people want to move on with their lives as well. Time comes for an end, sadly. And, we can't really blame people for that, but I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. We don't want where you're
going with this. I can take it over for you, but then there are shows that we don't care about when they get canceled,
right?
Like Naomi.
Yeah. Yes.
So I mean, I think I've made my point on this show and on the main podcast several times that I have suffered through 8 episodes of that show, and I refuse to finish it because I've given it enough of my life and it doesn't deserve any more.
Yeah.
I know there's some people.
I tried.
Yeah. How far did you get, Remus?
After the guy on there showed that he was Thanagarian and he started training her, and then after
episode 2,
I think it was like 4 or 5, maybe.
I'm pretty sure he popped those wings in the first episode.
Well, there were some episodes, a couple more after that. I don't think I made it past 4.
Yeah,
I think I was just like, I sit there and it's just like, I really, really wanted to watch the show because it could be such a fantastic story. It could be such a fantastic show, but I was just bored. I would just sit there and watch it. And then I would just start thinking about other things going on. I was like, well, I need to go do this, or I'd rather be doing this. But yet I'm sitting through this.
Yeah, no, that was exactly it. And my wife would sit with me and be like, why are you even watching this? I'm like, because someone has to talk about this on snippets. So that was literally my motivation for watching the entire show, was like, well, somebody on our podcast has to be on top of these things so we can actually discuss it. But I just gave up on that a few weeks ago because it was rough.
it had some elements where it started off that was keeping my interest at first, where it was just like, oh, who is this girl? She's finding these artifacts that are letting her know that she might be something, so different, out of the ordinary than everybody else. And this artifact would create these mystical symbols, and she would get these power bursts all of a sudden, and then her parents are slowly letting her know that she isn't who she thinks she is. And, it's like some of that I felt kind of intriguing about, but it just fell flat.
You know where I think this show actually suffered a little bit? And I mean, you feel free to smack me digitally through the screen here, but I feel like it was missing almost the freak of the week component from Smallville.
Yes.
Like you didn't have any threats that she was really facing.
No.
You did eventually. It happened eventually, but out of the whole episodes of all the seasons, I think she faces a threat 3 times throughout the whole first season.
It was kind of like, in kind of like that CW vein of like, I want to be a long drawn out drama like Riverdale or one of their other shows. Riverdale, by the way, I liked that show. That was really good. The Archie comic,
but I've heard good things.
Yeah, the Archie comics adaptation. It's actually good. But so I'm not dogging on that show because I've watched every episode of it. I can't dog on it. But what I mean by that is like the teenage drama aspect.
Yes.
That's what it drawed out on, and not really more character development. It was more like, oh, how should I fix my hair today? I want to make sure it looks good for so and so. I might like this guy or I might like this girl. And it went that route back and forth, and it just didn't progress. It was just like less like just keep mixing in this over and over and over, and eventually throw something out there to make it look like we're moving forward. And I think that's kind of like where it failed. I mean, to me anyway.
Yeah, it's well, I don't know. I was reading an article the other day, and it was saying like this show should deserve the second season because it's the drama that young black women needed because there's not a strong young black woman character out there for them to look up to. And I'm like, well, I agree that there should be a character out there for them to look up to, but it needs
Yeah.
to be a well-written one. It needs to, and
Yeah.
this isn't a knock against the actress because I don't know how good of an actress she might be, because if you have mediocre writing, it's hard to really portray great acting skills when you're delivering
Right.
crap lines. So I think the biggest issue with that show was the writing, the story pacing. I didn't have a much of an issue with the acting from the bad guy like Zimbardo, the Hawk guy substitute or Hawkman substitute was
Right.
a little bit melodramatic at times, that mysterious character that's clearly hiding something that you'll find out about eventually, but no, we won't because the show's canceled. So I don't know, like the show had some interesting threads. I wish it would have been written better, but I said it in the beginning, I don't think it was designed to target my demographic. And I think a lot of those reviews saying what they're saying agree. It's not for me. But apparently it's not for the demographic they were targeting either, because they weren't tuning in. So that I don't know. I wish Black Lightning would have got a bit more of a chance. It kind
I
of
love Black
off the
Lightning.
rails a bit,
Yeah.
but I would argue that his daughters, for the most part, portrayed strong black female characters. And even though there were some questionable plot moves in that show, I felt like his older daughter, Anissa, from the beginning of that series was a strong black female character. So whenever they say, like girls don't have anything to look up to, I mean, Black Lightning's only been gone for one season. And in that article, they completely ignored that Anissa even existed in that show. So I was like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
I really enjoyed Black Lightning as a series. I'm kind of a little disappointed that Painkiller, it was Painkiller, right?
Yeah, it got canceled.
Yeah, I was I was hoping he would at least get a season, like even if they only did like a DC showcase or something, like just a limited 6-episode thing. They should do things like that more, instead of trying to make it full-blown series. Do a quick little 6 episodes, and then if the viewer base is fantastic, create a show off of that.
Well, I think we're kind of headed in that direction since so much DC content is cruising towards HBO Max. I think HBO Max is actually the setting for things like that, or like an 8-episode maxi series sort of thing where it's like, okay, this is a self-contained story in these 8 episodes. We're not planning to turn it into a show, but maybe we can spin it off into one if people really like what they see. And then with HBO, you have that good budget essentially to actually have good CGI and the things you need for like a super powered hero story, at least, because let's face it, if you can't do at least half decent CGI, that's the first thing people are going to make fun of.
Yes,
I mean, look at our chat server and how we're already talking after the trailer of She-Hulk.
Yeah,
and the questionable CGI there.
It kind of looks. She just Tatiana Maslany. I absolutely love that actress. I've watched probably Orphan Black 10-20 times over and over and over. She is a phenomenal actress. If you guys have not seen Orphan Black, go watch the series. It lasted 5 seasons. She plays multiple characters, and there's one scene I remember that she is in it with, which she calls her sisters. I'm not going to tell the story because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but there's a scene where she plays it's Tatiana Maslany, herself in there, but she's playing the part of 4, maybe 5 characters at the same exact time. So she had to go in there and film each character interacting with herself over and over as they're dancing, having a party, communicating with each other. And I'm just thinking how difficult that filming must have been to do what she did. And I think she won a big award for that episode, but it's fantastic. And
it's like watching an Eddie Murphy movie with the clumps.
Yes. It was just like that. I mean, she did such a fantastic job, but they would interact and dance together and hold each other around, their arms around each other, or it was just done perfectly. It wasn't like, oh, I'm looking up into the sky and I'm supposed to be looking in her face, but I'm looking at the ceiling, because it was spot on.
It was just cut really well.
Yeah. And her accents that she's able to do, the different, she could be a saint in one episode and then she could be Satan in another episode. I mean, like she could portray any type of personality. And that's why I was really excited when I heard she was going to be She-Hulk, because she's a fantastic actress.
Yeah, well, and what I'm saying though is the CGI though.
Oh yeah, it was
nothing
bad.
having to do with the actress or anything. It's just like
that's what I was saying.
Your first impression, like
I was so excited because she was in it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the preview and I was just like, her face looks melted. There's something wrong. It's
just not finished yet. Maybe they threw out the trailer and it's not quite done yet. Or
I'm hoping, because it's just it's raw. I mean, I'm gonna watch them all.
DC does stuff. Let's not get too side.
What about Batwoman?
Yes, that's where I was headed next. Tell me how you feel about that.
Okay, well, she's supposed to be a strong, Black woman, representation there. I mean, actually, there's a lot of diversity in the show that's represented, and and I'm all for it. If it continues the story arc, it has progression to the story. Everybody, we live in a world where everything needs to be represented if it has a place, right?
Yes.
But the problem with Batgirl is it just declined for me. Like after Ruby Rose left, I enjoyed the first season. I started watching this, and it's not that this actress is bad or horrible or anything like that. I just lost interest in the show, and I can't put my finger on why I lost interest. I know there's a few other people that we talked to that really, really love the show or enjoy the show. I believe Biff really enjoys the show. And I'll probably go back and rewatch it later on. But there was so much that's on television today. A show has to have something that hooks you and pulls you in, or you're going to pass it over for another option, because like I said, there's so many different shows on TV. And this one just didn't hook it for me. To me, it's going to be a show I'm going to go back and finish watching later on when nothing but reruns are on. Same thing with Naomi. I'll go back and watch that show of hers when there's nothing else on, while we're waiting on the new cool shows to come out. I just lost interest. I mean, like I said, I'm not talking anything bad about the show or the actors or anything like that. It just didn't hook me. That's all.
Yeah, I largely agree with what you're saying. I think I'm famous in our server and maybe some other servers for acknowledging that I love some really shitty stuff. Like I will tolerate some pretty awful stuff just because I'm a huge DC and Marvel fan in general. I'll watch whatever they throw out there and definitely watch it through a lens of less criticism. But I didn't like Batwoman season 1. I didn't think it was anything that special. And my biggest issue with it is, okay, their main actress is leaving the show for whatever reasons. There's other dramatic things that came up after the fact that they say are the reason why she was gone and everything.
Right.
All of that aside, that her leaving the show happened within the context of them knowing they were doing the biggest crossover event in the history of the Arrowverse, and you had a canned excuse for why somebody else would show up as Kate Kane after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So if you knew that you were losing that character, or if you were even going to have an episode of that show that involved a character that was left over from Crisis on Infinite Earths showing up as a duplicate of her sister Beth, and you've already planted the seed for that character transition, why did we have to create a whole new character that has nothing to do with the Batwoman mythos to be a Mary Sue that stumbles into the suit and already magically knows superb karate? Like it's just like, oh man, that's pretty fortunate that the one person that stumbled upon the wreckage and found the bat suit also happens to be a trained, like, badass fighter that happens to also be a black lesbian. Like, I'm like, Jesus, enough like virtue signaling in that show. It was like, I'm not even one of those people that gets upset about it, but even I was like, holy crap, whenever I saw what they were going to do.
Right.
And all of it is so convoluted when you could have just said, oh, well, our Kate died in this plane crash, but look at this. We got another Kate left over from another universe, and she happens to also be black. So whatever. You could say, you have like the different versions of Superman out there, like Val Zod and Calvin Ellis and stuff. You have different universes. They were acknowledged that the crisis just happened. You had a built-in story reason to have that person be Kate Kane and not have to do all this crap to explain a whole new character. It's just another Earth's Kate Kane. And our Earth's characters, mine's had their reset, and now, okay, you have to explain why her dad's white and she's black, she's adopted. Who fucking cares? It's just you make those subtle tweaks to make
Right.
the character fit in within the context, because then you still have Kate Kane doing everything that Kate Kane is supposed to do as Batwoman, and you're not explaining this wholly different character that now we're supposed to support, that
Right.
clearly not a lot of people got into, and
Yeah.
now it's canceled. I
Right.
mean, I remember reading it was renewed for season 3, and most people that follow these shows know how bad its ratings were going into that renewal, and were
Right.
shocked that it got renewed for season 3. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard some good things happen in season 3, like Batwing and stuff like that. I never watched it, so I can't have an opinion there, because it lost me after they decided to replace the main character the way they did. And I did watch the first 4 episodes of that second season and tried to give it a chance, just couldn't get into it.
Right. See, to me, what hooked me on the first season was Beth Kane, Alice. To me, that I would love to just had a spinoff show of her. I
Yeah.
mean, the actress, was it Rachel Scarston, I think is how you say her name. She was I think I originally saw her in Lost Girl. I think she was in Lost Girl. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she was. And I really liked her on Batwoman, because just the character development they went through, and they showed why she is what she is. It was like, it was a gradual buildup of that character. And really, they didn't have a big buildup of Kate Kane. It's just like,
Here she is.
yeah, I'm going to go in and steal my cousin's stuff, and now I'm going to be Batwoman. I mean, there wasn't as much of a buildup as there was for her sister in the show. And Alice, just the way she was, I don't want to say she's like a female Joker, because she was completely different, but she's the villain.
That's pretty much what they were going for,
right?
If we're going to acknowledge reality here,
yeah,
like, she's the villain who always gets caught and somehow mysteriously gets away every single episode. She's the Joker.
I really, really enjoyed her character. I think I enjoyed her character more than I did Ruby Rose's character.
Yeah, she was definitely a highlight of the show. Like, no argument there.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, there was the rumors going around after I did a little bit of research. The reason that supposedly the network is saying that these shows were canceled is they have to rent out the studio to do all these filming. And like, the studio was up like months ago, like their leases on it, and they didn't want to have to renew their leases for all these shows with the declining ratings. So that's why
is that related to the merger stuff, though? Do you think that's kind of like a Discovery decision? Like, okay, let's start cutting some of this fat here and like get us trimmed down and have, a schedule of good rating shows.
Right. It could very well be. I mean, we know that Supergirl wasn't canceled because of that, even though the ratings were declining on that. Melissa Benoist, I hope I pronounced her name right. I think that's how you say it.
I think you're right. Yep.
She wanted to spend time with her family. She just had a new child, and she wants to be a mother, and you can't fault her for that. And she had a good run. I mean, she was on there very, very long time.
6 seasons of any show is a pretty good run. I mean, not a lot of shows make it past season 3. Batwoman.
Naomi.
Yeah, season 1.
Sadly, Black Lightning.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least that one got to its fourth season, right? Or was the third that it got canceled? I can't remember.
It made it to 4.
4? Okay, yeah.
I enjoyed that one.
I liked it for the most part, but it did get a little bit strange towards the end. After Wayne Brady, it got a little bit weird. It was still good. It was still watchable, but a little weird.
So let's go ahead and switch paths just a little bit. So we know all the stuff that is being canceled. So we're losing all of our shows. So does that mean CW is going to not be our channel anymore for good DC content? Is everybody going to have to get a subscription service and go to HBO Max? What do we have to look forward to? I know that we're getting a new season of Stargirl. She's still going to be on there. HBO produces Superman and Lois, so it will also be on CW. So there's 2, and then we have the new announcement. You want to take it over here? What the new announcement show is going to be?
Oh, what with the Gotham Knights? Is that
Gotham
what we're talking
Knights.
about? Gotham
Yes.
Knights.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got some stuff coming in the pipeline. Most of that stuff, from what I understand, isn't going to debut till mid-season.
Mhm.
So I believe the only one that we're getting in the fall is actually Stargirl, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
So
right.
it's going to be slim pickings this fall for folks that have been used to the CW being the home of like 4 superhero shows a week.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's probably something to be said for that, because the quality of those shows started to decrease pretty substantially over time. And I think what we have left, though, at least with Superman and Lois and Stargirl, are 2 of the highest quality shows that were
Right.
remaining that have good reviews and have pretty good ratings. I'll reserve judgment for Gotham Knights until I get a chance to see it. I see you kind of almost getting ready to smirk because you know what I'm going to say. The marketing could be a little bit better. It's not being sold as anything other than more of that teen drama that you come to expect on the
Right.
CW, and the show's already got some questionable decisions being made from the get-go. Like, why do we have to create a new character to be another one of Bruce Wayne's adopted orphans when we have so many options to pick from that have built-in fan bases that would make them happy? Like,
Right.
it's, we're clearly not worried about tying the Arrowverse in with Titans on HBO Max or anything like that. Like, those are going to stand independently. So why couldn't it be Tim Drake that
Yeah.
was leading the Gotham Knights? Or why couldn't it have been Jason Todd before everything terrible that happens to him and he becomes Red Hood leading these Gotham Knights? So I don't know. I'll reserve judgment until I actually get a chance to watch it and see how it plays out, because sometimes you get surprised. And like I said, I'm famous for loving crap. So I might still like it, even if it sucks.
Hey, perfect example of a great show that everybody thought was crap. Guardians of Justice, Netflix.
Oh my God. That was so good. That
Yep.
was so good. I'm trying to get my wife to watch it, and she's
Yep.
just like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, you don't understand. You just have to appreciate how well it's written and how good
Yes.
it is.
I tried to explain that to everybody. Watch us, and then some people will see the previews and they're like, "It's jumping everywhere, and it doesn't make sense." Watch it; it will make sense, and it is so well done.
Yeah, and if you like superhero shows, you can get past the low budget stuff in that show. You can get past it because it is such a well constructed story.
Yes.
And the acting in it isn't half bad, even though it's
No.
not the best actors and actresses, but it's not bad. It's
Mhm.
got some really fun parts to it. It's got some surprising actors and actresses in it that you'd be like, oh wow, they're in this. So
And see, that's a perfect example of a show that hooked me because it kept bringing up. It wasn't just relying on its base concept at the very beginning. The overall arc was about that, but they kept giving you new threads, to follow,
yes.
and it just, you didn't get bored. I mean, I don't think there
Yeah.
was a single episode. I kept just like, okay, let's do the next episode. Let's do the next episode. You just kept going through it because you didn't want to stop because it was done so well.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Tying back into the DC side of things, I feel like that's what makes Superman and Lois so good right now.
Yes.
Is if it's, am I cool to venture into some spoiler territory for folks that might not be caught up? Please, don't listen for the next 3 minutes if you're not caught up. But I love that show does different things with existing characters. Like, we all know who Superman is. We know who Lois Lane is. We know who Lana Lang is. We know who Morgan Edge is, or do we? So
Right.
like that twist on just, it was one of those generic crime boss inner gang like characters that really was a throwaway character
Mhm.
for the most part. He had important parts throughout Superman's history as, acquiring the Daily Planet and always being kind of a foil, but ultimately he was just another one of the guys that was getting, stuff through what's a dark side, just like Bruno Mannheim.
Right.
Basically. The same character essentially. But I love that they took Morgan Edge and made him into something completely different. I love that storyline is carrying through into the second season, and that they're adding depth with the fact that you now have a sympathetic version of him on the Bizarro world that you're like, I kind of like this guy. I hope that we get to see more of him.
Right.
So, on that subject too, we have a different version of Bizarro World we've ever seen before. Like in the comics, Bizarro World is always just a bunch of stupid backwards people with pale skin.
Right.
And in this universe, it's like, okay, they still kept the cube world, which I thought is great. Every time they cut in and you see the big cube
Yeah.
world, you're like, oh man, my Silver Age Superman fanboy just
And
got
everything's
tickled.
backwards. Everything's backwards.
Yeah,
kid.
everything still is backwards, but nobody's an idiot. Like they're not morons. They're just people that everything is backwards, but they're not stupid. Like they always portray Bizarro as stupid, and that bothers me because like just because he's backwards doesn't mean he's stupid.
Right.
Like I like All-Star Superman for that reason. I'm sure you've read
Oh
All-Star
yeah.
Superman.
Yes. Yes.
So the two issues where he goes to Bizarro World and he meets Zabaro, the smartest of all the Bizarros. I love that interaction between those two characters, and it kind of sets the stage that like you don't have to have a whole planet of these crazy Bizarro people that are weird, stupid, and just like make no sense. They're simply backwards, the reverse of what we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really cool approach to that, and that it creates a more significant threat versus a silly one. Because I mean, I love Bizarro as a character, but like when he shows up in most appearances, he's not taken as a serious threat because he's so silly.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think they were just back in the olden days, I think they were just using like it as a comic relief type mechanic.
Yeah, and it works like that too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love classic Bizarro too, but I also appreciate a fresh take on things.
Right. And I love the way when he came to our world, he looked like the classic Bizarro, the white skin, the cracks all going down his face. And I love how they explained why he looked that way.
Okay, can you help me out with that a little bit?
Yes.
I don't understand what made him start to crack like that. Like I know they kind of showed it gradually progressing.
It was from
from
using kryptonite, from breathing it in with the inhaler. Every time he would breathe it in, it would empower him and make him stronger, kind of like how the Kryptonite X did on Earth.
Yeah,
it does the same thing for them over there. But it had the side effects and it was mutating him. And his brother was telling him, like you need to quit using that. You need to stay off of kryptonite, blah, blah, blah. Basically it was a drug addiction.
Yeah.
And that's why he lost his family and everything else because of the drug addiction. So they were trying to go a little bit on that route to show, substance abuse, what it can cause, and it caused him to lose his whole family, but still in his core, he was still Superman and he wanted to save his family and he saved the worlds, so that's why he went to our world.
Did you notice though that the infection was tied to his emotional state?
Yes.
Like, because I noticed whenever he had that last argument with Tal Rowe, that like you could see it spreading on his neck. Like as he was saying, you're either standing with me or you're not, or you're against me or with them or whatever the phrasing was that he used. But as he's like shouting at him, you can see that thing like spreading up his neck. So I just thought that was interesting how they tied it to his emotional state, that it wasn't just the drug abuse, I guess, of the kryptonite.
Right. I think it was just the gradual mutations that were happening. And that was just a trigger, maybe something like adrenaline or something. It would speed up the mutations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love the Bizarro world. I mean, it was great because it was just basically a multiverse world, but it was just like, okay, but this was just backwards. It's just the opposite of what, well, not really the opposite, the reverse. Because if it was the opposite, then all the people on our world that was smart would be dumb there. And vice versa, but it wasn't that way. But overall, it was great. I mean, Superman and Lois is probably my favorite of the DC TV shows right now. It's definitely number one.
Oh yeah, easily.
And then it has to go like Doom Patrol and Teen Titans, or Titans, sorry, just plain Titans.
Just plain Titans.
Those are right there. Sometimes they're neck and neck. Sometimes I can't decide which one I like better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I like Doom Patrol a little bit better because it's just so different. We don't get exposed to those characters, so it's more fresh, if you get what I'm saying, not reuse characters.
I feel like Doom Patrol gives me the camp that I want, but with a serious tone that Legends failed to convey. Like, I feel like Doom
Yes,
Patrol
yes.
covers some of that crazy batshit stuff that you're just like, what the hell did I just watch? But at the same time, you're like, I want more.
Yes.
So, yeah, Doom Patrol is one of my favorites. I do enjoy Titans, although Titans has always traditionally suffered from some story pacing issues. And,
Mhm.
it's got some other things that make you scratch your head. But in general, I look forward to watching the new episode. Um, back to the subject of other DC content we have right now. Young Justice is in the process of wrapping up its 4th season, and I believe it's getting a 5th, but I don't know if I've heard an official confirmation on that yet. But that's been great. I've been loving Young Justice. It's been a lot. Like, this season's done a lot of character development for some of the villains. You've had interesting little sub stories that have contributed to the overall plot that we're getting. And being a Superman fan and everything that's been happening recently, I'll leave those spoilers out for anybody that wants to go watch them. It's been a really fun ride this season, and I'm looking forward to that one wrapping up. Beyond that, what else do we know we have coming this summer? The Harley Quinn cartoon is coming back again this summer. I believe they confirmed. We don't have an exact date yet, but that is coming.
Just that in a renewed Peacemaker, of course.
Yep.
We're having the Green Lantern series, I believe. Is that coming out this year or is it next year?
Yeah, no, that's July. I think that's July is the Green Lantern series. Or no. There's an animated, I think, feature coming out for Green Lantern. You're talking about the HBO Max
right
series.
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, I didn't want to confuse that. No, I believe that there's an animated feature coming out for Green Lantern this summer. Unless I misread that in the
well, I mean, let's go through. I know for like family wise, we have the League of Super Pets coming out.
Oh yeah, that looks great. I think Rock has been very busy for DC recently.
I think that's in like 2 months, so that's going to be relatively soon.
That's the next thing, I think, or the next entry.
So this year we're also going to get Black Adam. It comes out around October-ish, somewhere around in there.
And then December is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I think, right?
Yeah, only a couple months apart, which that kind of surprises me.
Well, I think it's because Black Adam was originally supposed to release this month in May, and then it got pushed back. It was pushed back to July, and then it got pushed from July to October. So, I mean, originally those two were about 6 months apart. So I don't know. Shazam might still move. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it doesn't, because if it doesn't, then we're going to get 4 DC movies within a year, which would be pretty cool.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. I think I think the TV show Gotham Knights is supposed to start this year, like in the fall. So that'll be something new.
I thought I read the Gotham Knights, Superman and Lois, and the Flash season 9 are all coming back for a mid-season return. So we would expect them like January 2023.
Okay. Have you seen anything on Batgirl? Is it supposed to be released this year or is it next year?
I went looking for that and I couldn't find any specific details on release dates. Like, it is still in development. I'll tell you what I couldn't find any details on was I remember it being announced that they were going to work on a Blue Beetle project on HBO Max, and I can't find anything about what's going on with that.
Yeah, so, I think it's like a year away or something. Yeah. I mean, it's like really far away, which that'll be cool. I mean, I don't know. They're probably going to follow the newer version of Beetle, but I would love it if they would start off with like the Ted Cord part, and then like maybe like slowly like move into the future, like maybe like kind of like Arrowverse did, where it had like flashbacks. Maybe have like flashbacks to the original one, but we're showing now present day.
Or you could honestly, again, like I said, I like new takes on things. Like, why not have Ted Cord be the original Blue Beetle, and he takes a new one under his wing that actually activates the magical scarab that he was never able to use, and he becomes the guy in the chair that has all the money and all the tech backup for the young new Blue Beetle.
I'm fine with that.
Like, I know that like a big part of Ted Cord's story is him dying, but we don't have to kill him. Like, why not do something fun and exciting with it? And then that gives Jamie like a mentor as he learns how to grasp the powers of the scarab, and you have your tech science guy that can help him like evaluate the scarab and be like, oh, I really want to learn the science of how this thing works. Then he goes, oh shit, it's magic. Then you could have a crossover with Satana or some other character in the DC universe that comes over to help with the magical side of things. I don't know.
I mean, we've got a lot of great things coming up. So we got the good things to look forward to. Losing some of our shows might be a downer, but keep your head up. We've got a lot of new things to come as well. So I'm going to try and stay positive as best I can about the newer shows. But I wanted to kind of like take this as like a little segue into let's drop back into some nostalgia of the past.
Well, just be careful not to get too negative about anything in shows and go around punching people like Ezra Miller.
Then we won't have Flash anymore, right?
Well, they said it's still they put out a statement the other day that they're sticking with him. So I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess his issues with the police aren't as bad as like
Yeah.
punching a baby or something like that. I don't
Wow.
know.
So speaking of the Flash, let's talk about one of the shows from our past. Back in the 90s, they just call it the 90s universe now, in the
Yeah.
Flash 90.
Oh yeah, didn't they literally call it Earth 90?
Yeah, Earth 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about John Wesley Shipp, one of my favorite actors, the one that portrayed the Flash on the original Flash TV series. And he now plays Jay Garrick. He was Barry Allen's father on the Flash. They had him as playing Henry Allen. Then later on, when he went to, they started doing the multiverse traveling, he met up with the Golden Age Flash.
Yes.
And then they just made John Wesley Shipp as that version of the Flash. And what I really, really love was the original series. I mean, I can go back today and watch it. I mean, we had John Wesley Shipp, of course, it played Barry Allen in the original. And then we had Amanda Pays, which played Christina McGee, which I had such a crush on back in the day.
I think we all did.
I love that sexy British accent she had, We had Paula Marshall as Iris West, which they never really expanded her story arc at all. There was just a little bit of her in it, like in a couple episodes, and you really didn't see anything about Iris. But I really like Paula Marshall. I remember watching her on a movie called Warlock, the Armageddon, when she was younger, and it was really cool because she had superpowers in that. It was kind of a cool show. And then we had like an original character. I don't know if I pronounce his last name. His name's Alex, and I think it's either Desert or Desert. And he played Julio. Julio was like kind of like the comic relief guy in it, but he was also a serious scientist in it, kind of like how Cisco is today.
He was the guy in the chair.
Right. Yeah.
Like
yeah. I liked Julio. He was pretty cool. But now this show didn't get canceled because it had bad ratings at all. It was pretty much canceled because of the budget. I mean, just his suit for the show alone was over $100,000. And it was like they tried to make this like the best shows, but the problem is when they first brought it out, it was going up against the Cosby Show. And if anybody remembers Bill Cosby's show back in the day, it was like the number one thing that all family members watched. So, they were trying to get some of the younger audiences away from that. But, when you have your parents sitting there and they're wanting to put the Cosby Show on because, it's a family oriented show, it's going to win out. So then they moved it to a different time slot and it got really good ratings. It wasn't pulling in enough to justify the cost.
Yeah.
But it was never canceled because of bad ratings or viewership. The viewership was there back in the day. And I mean, this show had so many great little cameos. I mean, of course, Mark Hamill.
Yep. That's the big one.
the trickster. I mean, he played the trickster, which is cool. And plus he reprised his role in the original Flash, that we have today. He came back as the trickster for an episode in that, remember?
Yep, I do. So that's a great episode. That got I was like giddy when I saw him in it and portraying his same character.
Right.
So good. As giddy as I got whenever Crisis happened, we got to see Wesley Shipp as Barry from his Earth. Like it just the same giddiness I got when that happened. I love that show too. You said it was like great family viewing. From what I understand, this is on a third-hand account from my wife, but I believe it was my father-in-law's like favorite like superhero show. And I did promise my nephew Tristan a shout out on the podcast, even though he shouldn't be listening because he's only 10 and we are rated R. So you better not be listening, you little fucker. But
well, you know what? I was just getting ready to say there was not been a single cuss word in the whole episode until you just said that.
That's right, though. This is an R-rated companion show, so you better get fucking used to it. Anyway.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about it for a little bit. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but it's very highly underrated show. It lasted for 22 episodes.
Mhm.
I mean, it had a few characters. A lot of people today probably won't know who they are, but like David Cassidy was the
Mhm.
Mirror Master.
Yep.
And David Cassidy, he was a singer. I could be wrong with these dates, but I think it was back like in the 70-ish era. And he played on the Partridge Family TV show that came out. He was a big hit back in the day. He was a
Just
heartthrob.
Google him. You'll recognize him.
Yeah.
When you...
So he was Mirror Master. So Mirror Master was in there. Jerry Ryan that plays Seven of Nine in Star Trek Voyager and in Picard, and a few spinoffs. She was also in it back in the day. It had a really cool storyline with a character called Nightshade, which would have been awesome to spin off as a series, like an olden day type series. I thought that he was played by an actor called Jason Bernard. The reason I know all these actors' names is because I've watched it so many times and I just really, really enjoy it. I mean, they had Captain Cold in it. They had a cool scene, episode where they created a clone of Barry that was in the blue outfit of the Flash. And I believe his name was Pollux, I think how you pronounce it. Like, that was really cool, but he had a mind of a child because he was a clone and he was brought up to an adult form. So he wasn't really that intelligent, but he had all the powers that Barry did. And I was just like, that was cool. He traveled into the future when he went into a super speed to catch a missile that was going to destroy people and stuff. So he went into super speed and ended up warping to the future when it exploded. And that's when he meets up with this. And I was just like, man, that's kind of cool. And this is way back in the 90s. For them. And I know that there was talks where they had the whole season 2 laid out to where it was supposed to be about the rogues, the Flash's rogues that team up to take the Flash down is what the second season was going to be. Unfortunately, it didn't make it there, but we do have 22 great episodes of this, and the special effects are not horrible.
No, especially when you consider 89, 90. Those when it was made.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few where they're doing the speed up film work where he's punching a person here, then speeding over here, punching a couple little scenes like that. But other than that, when he uses his powers for the first time and he's running from one coast to the next coast or something like super speed, and he doesn't know what's going on because it triggers the first time, and then it shows him running across the ocean, skipping like a stone, and it starts tearing his clothes off because he hits it and he comes out,
and he's always so hungry. I love that they always have him eating an insane amount of food to keep up with his metabolism.
He had a stack of 5 whole pizzas that he was eating and see the new show, I don't think even touched about that. I think way back they mentioned something
he's got to consume a bunch of calories daily or something,
and he was asking, do I age faster now too?
And they made fun of the fact that he couldn't get drunk, that they had to make specialized alcohol that he could get drunk off of,
right? So I mean, of course, production quality and everything, the new show today of course destroys the old show in special effects, because it's modern day. But I'm telling you, this show, people, if you go back and watch the original show, John Wesley Shipp, 22 episodes, it's still viewable today, and you won't be like, oh, that looks so horrible. It's still great. The story, it's here's a good example. Take the original Star Trek with William Shatner. The special effects in that are really bad by today's standards. You have definitely people in, latex suits, you have hand-drawn laser beams coming out of their guns.
That infamous video of him throwing the rock at the lizard monster, that's the worst fight scene in cinema ever.
Right. But what makes that show so good was the storylines. They kept you intrigued and your attention was there. That's how this show is. But the special effects are not bad. They're just dated. That's all. But I mean, if someone would go in and CGI the effects to today's standards, this would be unbelievably awesome. But I'm just throwing it out there for our nostalgia part of the show. We're always going to try and cover a little bit of an older show, that we've enjoyed, and this is one for me. The 90s Flash, man, you guys have got to watch it.
Absolutely. And one thing I noticed you didn't mention that, for me, it's one of my favorite things of the show, the theme music
Oh,
The theme
yes.
music, he has one of the best themes. It's like, to me, that Flash theme from the 90s is right up there. Like when I hear it, it's just like the 78 Superman theme or the 89 Batman theme, where I'm just like, yes, I'm excited to watch this just because I heard that theme music. And not a knock against the current Flash, but like that, I don't get nearly as excited when I hear his theme music. If you get a chance to watch the 90s one, listen, I think you'll see what I mean. It's like exciting, it's upbeat, and like it slowly builds on itself, like just like the Batman theme builds on itself with the drums and everything until it gets to its like big crescendo. Same thing with that Superman theme. It's epic. It's epic in the sense of the word as it's truly meant.
I couldn't agree more with you, buddy. I'm probably going to, within the next few weeks or so, probably binge watch the show again because I enjoyed it so much.
I might watch it this afternoon once we're done recording. I don't have much else going on today, so I might just spark one up and watch some Flash.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
I wish I could talk to Black Flash about it, but he just disappeared into the ether. I guess maybe the actual Black Flash got him, so who knows?
He's trapped somewhere in the Slug Force, buddy.
Somewhere.
That's what it is. We're going to have to find some way to get in there and find out what's going on. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I think we covered a lot of ground today. I mean, there is so much more to talk about. We could spend hours upon hours, and if there's any like specific topics that anybody wants to hear on WAD snippets, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, I mean, join us on the Atlantis After Dark Discord server. Let us know what you think of our show, because we're always interested in feedback. And if there's something you want to discuss, and who knows, maybe you could even join us here on Snippets, because we're not opposed to having some friends join us and discuss topics they're interested in. We could discuss it there. So come join our server and let us know.
Yeah. And if you enjoyed Atlantis After Dark or this Snippets episode, please show your support and get some great merch in the process. Go to atlantisafterdark.com, click on the store tab, and see under all of the wonderful products that we have there. Also, click on the free tab and get some cool looking desktop backgrounds for your PC of all your favorite cast members. It's there. It's free. Download it. Enjoy. Just join our Discord channel. Talk to us. Let us know. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button on YouTube and keep an eye out for the next episode of Atlantis After Dark Snippets. Anything you want to add, buddy?
No, I think you covered it. Pleasure speaking with you as always, Retmus. I look forward to next time. Did we have any thoughts on what we might want to talk about next time? Or we just want to see what people suggest in the server?
We can go by we have a list that can be a mile long of what we can do.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
So, listeners out there, is there anything you would like covered? If we get any comments in specifically of like what some people would like covered, we can, touch on that. And then we'll throw in some goodies for everybody. Let's keep it all a mystery.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining Secretary and myself for today. And I hope you have a wonderful day.